Hey everyone, and welcome to another Planet Coaster element tutorial. And this episode is going to be on the 0G roll for both the inverted and standard roller coasters. And basically, I'm just going to show you some methods you can use to build smooth, good forced 0G rolls in, Planet Coaster using the new 2-meter method. So basically, how this is going to work, I'm going to split the video into two parts. Where first we're going to have the inverted 0G rolls and then the normal 0G rolls. So if you just want to see the standard sit-down 0G roll portion of the video, skip to this time on screen, and that way you can just watch that and then you don't have to sit through the inverted 0G roll. Though I do recommend you do, because if you've been struggling to make 0G rolls that are good, like they've got good width to them, they've got good shape, they're smooth, I would recommend trying this method that I'm going to show you today. So I think we'll kick it off with the inverted 0G roll. So the entire premise of inverted 0G rolls is that, well, any 0G roll, is that it's without the rolling, it's shaped as an airtime hill that pulls anywhere from 0.5 to negative 0.5 vertical force, g-forces, which is why it's called a 0G roll. So the difficult part of Planet Coaster is because of the way that the banking works, you can't accurately shape, that's the wrong one, accurately shape heartlining, because you can see the way that the banking accelerates towards the middle of the piece, so you get this really awkward kind of wonky rolling. So the way I combat this is to manually heartline the 0G roll. That sounds annoying, it is, but it's the best way to get a good shaped 0G roll. So we're going to start by gradually making a pull up into the roll, but not at such a steep angle, maybe about anywhere from 35 to 40 degrees is the optimal 0G roll kind of entry. So once we've reached about halfway in, we want to start increasing the banking very gently, very gently. This, looking at it from this view, is going to be the most helpful when we're building it, because this allows you to get the really nice circular shape. So basically how it's going to start is the first piece is going to start rolling slightly, maybe to about 10 degrees. We're not going to change the pitch yet, and we're not going to touch the yaw. The yaw is not being touched at all throughout this entire thing until we're editing it later. So now, the next piece should about double the banking, or maybe triple it, because the rolling needs to exponentially increase to 180 degrees. So once we reach that, we're going to slowly pull the pitch down. If we look at it from this angle, we should start having a curve. So once we've reached about there, we're going to increase the banking even more to about 75. At this point, the pitch needs to start coming down. As you can see there, we're already going into the roll now. Now, at this point, at 90 degrees is where the actual rolling is going to be furthest away from the middle. So that's where we're going to use. But we're not going to make it that, because we've already set it up at 75 degrees. So we're going to increase the banking again to about 120. Pull it down to about here. So you can see already that the shaping should be the roll. Basically, like, the 0G roll doesn't flatten out like this, and then hit 180 at a 0 degree angle, even though it looks like it does. So we're going to keep that up to about, let's go about there and about there. So now we're going to straight up snap it to 180 degrees to get the whip, and there's the entry to our 0G roll. It looks a bit strange. Right now it kind of looks more like a new gen inverted 0G roll entry, but have no fear, we're going to edit this so that it looks much better than it currently does. So just like the loop tutorial, I'm going to use, delete the piece, check the values, so that my 0G roll is completely symmetrical on both sides. That way we can get the most accurate and smooth 0G roll. So if we just bring that back to here, 26 to 75. Doing this means that our banking and rolling isn't going to be slightly skewed, or if one side was rolled differently, the exit might be whippier than the entrance, and then that's going to get some weird forces, so we don't want that. So pull that back to, I think it's this piece, 26 and, oh no, we've already done that one, 26 and 30, right, 35 and 32. 35 and 32. I know the next one is, I think it's 40 degrees, isn't it? It's 40 at 10, or like 11. I'll go with that. And then we can trail that off at the end. And then, boom. Okay, so right now it looks more like a new gen one. If we want to keep this shape, then you can do. So just ignore, if you want to build a new gen invert, you might want to keep a shape like this so that like it looks more like a hill than what a normal one. So like, okay, old gen inverts tend to have their like peaks bottom out, so you kind of get a straight effect like that. New gen ones have a tight peak, which is a smoother, less whippy rolling. So if you want a new gen 0G roll, keep it like that. If you want a whippier one, I'll show you what to do now. So we're going to create the heart line now. So we're going to take the middle section of these 4 pieces, pull it down to about here so that it's in line with that grid line. Pull these pieces up, pull them up again. Now we've created a slight heart lining effect. It looks quite wonky, so you can I'd just recommend hitting some smooth little pieces so we can get a better visualization on the actual shape of the 0G roll. Pull these up. We're going to create a smooth heart lining effect. So right now it probably looks a bit, you know, jank. So now we're going to get on with the heart lining. So all inverts tend to have about a 4-foot banking offset. 4 foot is roughly about, let's say it's like a meter. It's about a meter and 30 centimeters, whatever. So if anything, you can actually use like this. This is a 1 meter post, and it shows that it's about, you know, it's about that much offset we need from the center line as our heart line. So we're going to use this as our little guide to know how much heart lining we're going to apply to the actual ride. So this middle track section here, which is at 180 degrees, we're not going to touch this. This doesn't get touched, it just stays there. So, like I said before, your 90 degrees is going to be your furthest point from the center line. So if we take our little measurement here at the middle, actually we're going to want that about here. You can see that is how much offset we need to actually have from the center line. So if I push that to there, that is, well, right about maybe there, that's accurately how much heart lining we need to apply. So what you're going to do here is, sorry, I'm a bit quick, pull that out to the end of the stick, and then you're going to gradually pull these pieces out so you create a slight curvature effect. You can see here how it gets slightly further away from the heart lining center to create this kind of heart line effect. From this angle, it should kind of look like this. Your pieces should be getting closer to the center line, but each piece that gets closer to the non-banking should move less, so you get this smooth rolling effect here. So now that we've reached the midpoint again, we're going to take our measurement here, we're going to move that so that it's actually there now, push it to here, and then we're going to grab the other side and pull it out to about there. Now you can already see we're getting a more heart-lined effect. Same thing over here, you want to pull that out, grab it and gradually increase the banking. So already you can see here we've got a much more heart-lined effect, but we've kept the shaping of the actual 0G roll. Now the best thing to do, take the 2 middle pieces, smooth them out, so that you get a diagonal effect. Why is autosave taking so long? So yeah, if you take the 2 pieces in the middle, smooth them out, you then make sure that this track piece is diagonal, and then just readjust the banking so it's 180 degrees. Right, okay, you can already see here we're getting closer to the actual shape of the 0G. Let's say pull this down a little bit more. Then we can start taking these track pieces and smoothing them together. Pull it up slightly. Pull it up slightly. You can already see we're getting closer to where we want to be. If your smoothing reduces some of your heart line, just pull it out again. The smoothing is only really for your banking, so that you can get a bit of an idea about how whippy you're going to end up building a thing here. So, as you can see here, we've got this nice twisted curve from the 0G. So that already we're getting a much more smooth. You can see from this side, the curve becomes a circle and then tightens off and twists in. You can see already there, we've got a pretty good 0G shape and we haven't even smoothed it yet. So if I just keep picking pieces and smoothing them, and then pulling them out, grabbing them, grab and move. Yep, alright. We've got a pretty good 0G roll so far. Alright, so now that we've got this, you can either smooth it out as 4-meter pieces. If you're going to do that, I'd highly recommend you readjust and kind of over-exaggerate your whip, because your 4-meter smoothing will get rid of that very quickly. So you can go ahead and smooth that with 4-meter pieces. I recommend 3, selecting 3, clicking, moving along, doing that. So if we look at that when it's kind of smoothed out a little bit more, you can already see there we've got a much a much better shape there on the entry. So, but I'm going to show you how to do it with 2-meter pieces now. That way that you can get the best possible shape. You may have noticed that when you're smoothing it out, your banking at these points will probably be a little bit more banked over than you want. So I just decrease the banking a little bit to get it back to 0, so that you create a smooth transition out of the roll. Okay, so now that we're going to do that, we're just going to grab the smooth all. We're going to grab the entire 0G roll, and we're going to click it twice. 2. This will wreck your banking a little bit, but this is so that we can get the actual radius of the 0G roll much smoother than it would be if we didn't. So now you can just put your banking over a little bit more and just readjust it back to where it was. There we go. You may want to use the little 90-degree trick, which is grab the pieces you want to be at 0 degrees, check the 90 degrees, move it slightly, and then all of these are back to 0 degrees with no random, banking involved. So again, we'll do that on this side. Quickly snap it over, and then we go. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do what I did with the loop last episode, and we're going to turn these into 2-meter pieces by, again, I'll quickly recap, deleting a piece, pulling it to 6 foot, clicking, autocomplete, smooth all. We're going to do that for the entire 0G roll now. Alright, so now that you've turned all of your 4-meter pieces into 2-meter sections, what we're going to do now is do another whole pass of the entire ride, the entire element, with the smooth all smooth all feature to make sure that you can get the actual roll nice and smooth. So we're going to spam this a few times. This way, when you ride it, you're not going to notice any jolts, slight kinks, or bounces in the radius of the inversion. That way we can get the smoothest possible experience for every rider. So now that we've hit that a few times, remember that because we're using 2-meter pieces, it's going to take a little bit longer to smooth than 4-meter pieces because the pieces don't move as much. Okay, so now that we've done that, we're just going to now have to go back and readjust the banking. Remember to almost increase the velocity of the banking as you get closer to the middle, as that's how you get your whip from zero G rolls. To about here, you're going to want to turn the 90-degree snap on, twist it slightly, and have all of these pieces return to 0 degrees. That way you're not going to have any random banking halfway down the roll. It's quite an easy little trick to learn if you want to be building hills, turns, anything that's going to have a transition into a bank, and then keep that angle for a few times. So what we're going to keep doing is just keep adjusting the banking so that everything is nice and smooth, ready for our piece by piece smoothing run. So if I just keep adjusting that. Use this view quite a lot to actually get your nice shape down. Oh, look at that, that looks pretty good. There you go, we can see there we've got the curve into the 0 G roll, nice and smooth and ready to smooth out. Might be a little bit less whippy than I think we could have it, so if I just increase these pancakes slightly, we can increase the whip that the 0 G roll is going to have at the very top. We want it to be smooth, but we also want it to be whippy, so you can actually use the values of banking on both sides to get a consistent roll. So there's going to be 116, so that one needs to be 116. That one right now needs to be 88. Oh, 88. That one there's 76. You can see already there it's getting the same shape as the other side because they are exactly the same pieces. Well, sorry, they should have exactly the same values. I'm not sure what's happened here. Let's get rid of that. We were on 76, so 61 should be that one there. 47 should be this one. Wait, no, it should be that one, sorry. 30. I believe that's going to be that one, isn't it? Yeah, 30. 16 and then 6. Alright, 30, 16 and 6. And then 6 degrees. Alright, okay, you can see there we've got a nice smooth 0 G roll ready to go. Actually, I'm going to adjust this slightly more because it seems that there was a slight bit of, banking discrepancy we had. Alright, that looks pretty good to me. So already there, you can see we've got a really smooth 0 G, and we haven't even smoothed it out yet. It's got the heart lining, it's got the shape, it's got everything we need. So now what we're going to do is we're going to select 6 pieces. Set the lighting, actually, it's quite dark. 6 pieces, back and forth once. So we're going to go forwards once, and then back, and then we're going to change the 3 piece. So actually, looking back at it now, I don't think we're going to need to use 2 passes with 6 pieces, because already we've taken quite a lot of the whip out of our 0 G roll. So instead of doing it back and forth, we're just going to go forwards, and now we're going to change to 3 pieces, and we're going to do the exact same thing. I'd say maybe twice, back and forth twice. And then we're not quite done. There is one little trick with Planet Coaster's banking that I want to show you that you can use on 0 G rolls, any rolls or anything that has banking that goes, any inversion that rolls like a corkscrew or anything like that. It's a very little nifty trick that I found that will really help you in the long run. So I'll show you that shortly. Okay, so now that you've smoothed out the 0 G roll back and forth twice, you need to make sure for this trick to work, you're at the end of the piece, or sorry, at the end of the element that the train's going to be, going in. So this is going to be going from left to right, so I'm on the right side of the element. So what you're going to do is you're going to start smoothing back from right to left, which is the opposite direction to which the train is going to be going. You're going to smooth it, keep going till we reach about the midpoint of the 0G roll. And you'll notice here, oh sorry, actually if I smooth back, you'll notice that this side of the 0G roll is slightly rougher than this side. You can see there, can't you, that there's a lot less of a consistent curve. That's because the way that Planet Coaster handles its banking is that when you do a roll, the entry to your roll is going to be always smoother than the exit because of the way that the game handles the smoothing mechanic. When you smooth using the 4-meter technique, your exit to your rolls are going to be rougher than the entrance. So the way to combat this is to just start smoothing the opposite direction to the entrance until halfway through the roll. So if we go to halfway through the roll, so here, actually I think it probably work better from here. If we go to this point, you can see that there is a really, really big snap here. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab this middle piece and we're going to pull it so that it aligns with this side. So if we look at it from this angle here, there's a slight kink there, but that's to be expected. But basically what we've done there, as I'll do it again, is we've found the biggest kink in the roll and we've adjusted it so that it aligns better with this side. And that is how you create the consistent roll for coaster types. Now, that looks like our 0G pretty much finished, to be honest. It's not the whippiest 0G roll out there. It's more of a new gen one, but this method is exactly the same. If you want to create a whippier one, you just need to make the top bit slightly tighter and the banking less gentle around the top. So yeah, I think we'll give this a quick test and see what it's like. You can see there, that was a very, very smooth, consistent roll. And if we actually have a look at it from the guest-facing back car, spin it round, we can properly see here what it's like. You can see there a very smooth, constant roll. That I'm not actually sure what the forces are, because if you know anything about Planet Coaster and its forces, you'll know that the data is not exactly the most accurate it could possibly be, so you'll never really get a truly 0G roll because of the way that the forces are measured. I think they're measured from the they're measured from the front car of, I think it's all coaster types. And some coasters even have them take data from the 0 car, which is, that's not very accurate, is it? But if we have a look at the 0G roll here. Alright, so as it enters, at that point, you see, at that point, it would not be pulling minus 1.294 Gs. But around the top, actually, it's not so bad. And the exit, pretty much 0 Gs. So yeah, that is how you create a inverted 0G roll. So the premise for the standard sit-down 0G roll that I'm going to show you now is very similar in the smoothing and shaping method, except we're going to use a slightly different shape than the inverted 0G roll. So yeah, I will show you the standard 0G roll now. So the way that you do a sit-down 0G roll is kind of different to the way you do a inverted one. So you can actually use the in-game banking offset for this, which is, well, different from the other one, because you don't need to manually heartline this as much as you do with the invert. So again, if we take this to about 35, 30, let's go to about 39, let's go to 40 degrees like we did last time. 40 degrees, and stop. We can then set the banking offset to about halfway between 3 and 4, and this is where the banking starts to get a little bit strange. The way that standard 0G rolls work is that they almost don't gradually, increase in banking and create that curved shape. They more suddenly peak at the top. So what we're going to do is we're going to gradually bring the banking up. We'll start at like 15, go to about here, but at this point we're going to start bringing it down by about 5 degrees. We're going to create an almost inverted circular shape to the one we had before. If we bring this up to about 30, we want to again increase the banking quite a lot to about 95. We're not touching the yaw. The yaw is staying the same as it's always been. I'm not sure I've got supports on, actually. That's kind of annoying. Let me just turn them off quickly. And we're going to create a very tight peak. We're going to go 0 and snap it straight to 100 degrees, 180 even. And that creates the really tight peak of the 0G roll. Snap it back to, I think it was 95 we had the other one. For now, that's a really tight peak, but we're going to ignore that for now. This side is 30 at 95, so yep, we just need to bring that down to 30 at 95. You can already, yeah, you can see there, super tight peak. That's quite unrealistic for now, but when we get into the smoothing process, you'll see how we can change that. So 35, 46. That snaps to 35. Did I miss out a banking piece? I think I did. Oh yeah, it's... So yeah, 95... Oh no, sorry, I got it wrong way round. It's 35 and 46. There we go. So, now that we've grabbed this one, we need 40 and 15, and then 40 and 15 for last one. 40 and 15. Okay, so now that we've grabbed that, check that down. You can see there we've got the tight crest of the 0G roll. How are we going to combat this? Well, what we're going to do is we're going to bring this middle bit down, hit the smooth all 3 times. 1, 2, 3. And that is going to create a very strange looking shape initially. So we're going to bring that out slightly to keep the heart lining. And then we're going to take the top bit, smooth it. We need the smoothest crest bit. And then you can already see here, we've got a much better shape. Having the top 180 degrees be diagonal is imperative. I cannot stress this enough that you get that initially before we start smoothing. So, you know, you just take the top bit and press smooth all quite a lot. So now that we've done that, we can hit that a few times, maybe grab that out a bit, because we need to keep as much heart lining as possible, because the Planet Coaster will just try and get rid of it. So hit the spam, smooth all on that, bring it out slightly, smooth all, bring it in slightly. If you can see, we already kind of have the shape down. You can see that it twists out at the middle bit, which I gradually just adjust that a little bit, and we create the snappy entrance to a 0G roll. This is going to be much more of a snappy roll than that, because this one had its, well, straight 180 degrees to 90 very quickly in one piece. This one, you can see, is a much more gradual roll. So if you want to do an inverted snappy roll, do it like this. So what we're going to do again is we're going to take this bit, we're going to smooth it, we're going to pull it out a little bit, take this bit, again, pull it in slightly. Pull that bit. So now that we've got the roll down, you can see we've got the tight peak. Tight peak again is caused by the heart lining of the roll. So if you want that slightly less tight, you can take the top pieces, hit smooth all, and it'll start pushing it down. And then we're going to take that, smooth, that, smooth. And then already that's much better. A lot less of a tight peak, but we've still kept the really nice heart lining shape that we want. Okay, now next step is simply just grabbing the entire 0G roll. You can see where this is going, and hit smooth 3 times. 3. Now that we've done that, we're going to grab up to the entrance point, do the 90 degrees trick, snap it. Again, we're going to grab up to the entrance and snap. Alright, that's very good. And now I think we can, I don't even know if we have to, oh yeah we do. We want to unbank this piece because it's going to prove quite a lot of laterals. bank that one a little bit more, bank it a little bit more, and we should be able to keep the lovely heart lining going. So unbank that one, bank and bank. Well, actually, I guess we could check which one's which. So that's 113, that's 121, that one's quite off. 174, 180 should be the middle point. 50, 60, 6, 11, 6. Alright, okay. So now that all of the banking values are even and back to their usual normal things, if we quickly test this, we should be able to see that the ignore the speed. We should be able to see that the actual heart line of the ride is through the middle of the ride. The should be through the middle of the train. Actually, we can see that there is some slight variation. I do think we need to heartline that a little bit more. Or do we? Actually, maybe not. I think that might be fine. Yeah. Never mind. I think that's fine. So, now that we've got the basic shape down, we're simply going to turn it into 2-meter pieces like we do all the time. So, let's do that. Okay, so now that we've, again, turned them all into 2-meter pieces, all we need to do is do the exact same we did for the invert 0G roll. Take all the pieces and then hit the smooth all a few times to get the shape down and smooth. Again, we want to hit this for a little bit longer because, you know, 2-meter pieces harder to work with. Alright, I'd say that's probably about enough. So now what we want to do is we want to take it up to about here, and we're going to do, again, we're going to do the 90-degree trick. Quickly turn it on, snap, and then we're going to go to there again, and then 90 degrees, snap. Okay, so now it's time for some banking readjustment, because this is going to cause a lot of lateral forces with the way that this is currently shaped. So you want to try and replicate a nice smooth curve here. As you can see there, we've got a nice smooth curve. That's going to be increasing in our banking. We want to slightly bank that over. We want this to have a bit of a whip to it. So you should be at 180 degrees, and then it should kind of bank out quite snappy to create the whip that we need. A bit like this, so that you can see here we've got, I think, a bit too much banking at this point. So if we decrease that slightly, and then, you know, do all that. There we go. Way better. You can already see there we've got the nice shape for the 0G down. You see there you've got the nice curve. That's just for the entrance done. So now we just go ahead and readjust it for this side as well. I want this to replicate and have a nice shape to the 0G. A little bit of banking, a little bit more banking there, so we're not going to cause laterals on the entrance. Keep adjusting it. So we have, I think this side's a little bit shaped differently from the exit. So all we need to do is just keep adjusting the banking. A little bit more there, a little bit less there. I'd say, again, if we, oh, okay, I can see the area that's the problem. It's this bit. Again, keep checking the smooth curve. And there you go. I think that looks pretty good to me. Yeah. Maybe actually increase that bit. Decrease that. There we go. The 0G roll looking smooth. Looking nice and smooth. So, again, now that we've got that, I think we should just do one pass with the 6 pieces selected to get the very nice shape going down. Okay, so now that we've done the pass, we're going to do the other little method I showed you, which is the 3-piece, starting from this side, sorry. You want to smooth back and forth twice, so 1, 2, no sorry, it'd be 1 and then 2, so that we end up on that side. So we're going to smooth this using the 3 pieces, and then we can do our little banking readjustment at the end to get the 0G roll nice and smooth. Okay, so now that we've done the smoothing up to here, I don't think I explained it a bit clearly enough before, but to get to having it over here, you need to smooth forwards, and then backwards, and then forwards again. And then, so it's not 4 times, so yeah. So you get it to here, and then we're going to smooth backwards to the halfway point of the roll, like we did on the invert, so that we can then use that little exploit in the Planet Coaster banking to get a smooth, continuous, constant roll. So I'm going to bring it up. This one's a little bit hard to see because of the way that the track's shaped. So we're going to bring it to about there. And again, you can see the snap. I'm going to adjust it so that the snap is aligned with the other sides. Say that looks good. So if we take it for these 3 pieces here, it's going to be, it's going to be that piece there, and you're going to adjust it so that we have the smooth, constant 0G roll. Now, that is the sit-down 0G roll done. You can see there, it's got, I like to think of it as kind of a keyhole shape, as it has this little gap in the center where the train rolls through, whereas the invert's kind of got the inverse of that, where the train rolls out the top of it. So you can see the difference in shaping there and there. So if we quickly test this, there you go, you can see again a much better roll than if we hadn't have done the little method at the end. And you can also see the way that the banking increases to 180 degrees where it then whips through. And if we just check the forces, we should have some positive forces at the top if it's going to be a whippy 0G roll. There you go, 2 positives at the top, and then it whips out at the end. We can again look at this from the guest facing perspective, car 7, flip it round. A very nice roll there, with there is some jittering, but that's because of the way that the 2 meter method works at the very tip of the 0G roll. But a much more consistent roll than 4 meter, and much better than not using that method at all. So yeah, that's pretty much my method for making 0G rolls. I know that you can make a bunch of variations of 0G rolls. You can make whippy, you can make gentle, you can make non-heartlined for some reason. I don't know why they exist for some reason. But I know SLCs have slightly non-heartlined ones, but the premise is quite similar for all of them, regardless of the invert sit down, is you just need to make it so that your banking accelerates to 180 degrees, so that it gets tighter as it hits the top. For inverts, don't flatten it out so that the roll starts at 0 degrees on like a flat piece of track, even though it looks like it, it's just the heart lining. So yeah, I know this was quite a complicated tutorial today that I've done, and if you do need some help, just post it in the comments and I'd be happy to give you some help if you're struggling with this at all. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. Go check out my loop tutorial, which I did the other day, and honestly the support on that has been amazing. I've got so many people have been able to watch that and help. I hope it's helped them, because that's well, I'd like you just build smoother coasters that aren't the in-game loops, because no one deserves to have to put an in-game loop on there when it's quite bouncy and rough. So I hope it helps, and I want everyone to be able to make smooth coasters that they're all proud of. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you all next time.